Welcome to the Startup Grind.
We have every time a special guest. Tonight is Dessi Boshnakova. She will tell us more about PR in business, outsourcing, brand development, and a bit more about her professional experience and her entrepreneurial experience. Welcome.
The funny part of the story is that we are all Bulgarians, and because of one French who speak English, we have to speak all in English. Thank you.
I'm very sorry.
Next time I prefer to French, but it will be only me and you. So excuse my English. It's English learned in the streets of one of the best cities for me in the world, New York. So I have a street English, it's not academic English, it's not high professional, and sometimes I miss my past perfect tense. As students with good English said, Professor Boshnakova, where is your past perfect tense? So I'm sorry, I will try to be clear in my ideas and expressing them in some kind of broken English, but feel free to correct my grammar mistakes when I'm talking.
Let's have a seat. I suggest we start with your background. How did you decide to start a business? And did you have the support of your family and friends?
It's a very funny story because support is some kind of strange feeling. 10 years after the start of the company, my husband made a confessions, and he said that the money he gives me to start my company, he gave it to me because I was pregnant and he was afraid that something will happen to the baby. But he was completely convinced that he threw those money in the rubbish bin out of the street, feeling that my idea for making PR agency in the 80s, it's the craziest things he ever heard. So I had the support, but maybe if I was not pregnant in that moment in my life, I will not receive the support. So it's tricky.
It was a perfect timing, I guess.
But I think that it's not the main topic, the support of your family. It's the idea that I was taught by my family that if I want to do something, I have to start with myself. And I have to do something about the things that I want. Nobody is obligated to give it the things that I want to me. So I was taught that if I want something, I have to do it by myself. And if you grow up with that way of education, you are not the ideal employee to any company because you want to have the tools to manage your life. And when you are employee, sometimes you have the idea, you know what to do, but you are not allowed to do it. And somehow I was not a good employee. Even I go to some interviews with HR people, they said you are so clever, and said, but you are not a corporate girl. So the only way for me was to have my own company that nobody will throw me, which is not so true if we go back to the Steve Jobs history. So I've tried to have, but in the same time I have always worked for other people. So I'm not working alone, but I decide what kind of job I want to do and if it is my kind of things that I want to do.
When we talked, you said that it was very hard to start a business. Can you tell us the story? What were the challenges starting it?
If I find the goldfish and I have 3 wishes, maybe one of them will be to be 20 now. Not because I will look better, but because the opportunities that I see today are much bigger than 20 years ago. And when I say that was that when we created, I said we because at the beginning we are 3 persons creating the company. After that 2 of them left because the success and the big money doesn't came in the first 6 months and they left me. And today somehow it's hard because there are too many companies and big competition. But some way it's easy because everyone knows what is public relations and they need some kind of advice. When we started it was like, PR what? What do you want? What are you selling? What's that stuff? So it was very difficult and everyone said, okay, your proposals are very good, you are very educated, we trust you, but you don't have an experience. Please get experience and come back to us with your proposal again. And I say, okay, but how can I get experience when nobody wants to work with me to get that experience? And at that moment, I decided that I will cheat a little bit the situation, and we offered to 4 companies to do something without any money, just because we think that it's something very important for them and we don't need any financial support from their part, just to allow us to work for them. So we did that with success, and after that we had a background. So we pay for our backgrounds with voluntary work. And when I go back in the United States in the beginning of the 21st century, I find that this is something that any textbook says, that to gain experience, just go and do something voluntary. So I find the way, and if I had these teachers and these textbooks, maybe it will be easy for me not having so time to find the right answer.
And you said that you were knocking on 700 doors to find customers. What was your approach?
So that was for the PR services. But at that moment I started teaching at the New Bulgarian University, and because students are very smart but very lazy, and when I ask them why you don't read the books about public relations, that's what you're studying, they say there is no books in Bulgarian. We are not in position to read textbooks in English. And I say, okay, that's the easiest part of the story. And I sit down and I've done something I think that I will never do again. I translated a 560-page textbook from English to Bulgarian in public relations, and it became something like that in Bulgarian. And the price was 32 leva. It was 1999, and there are few private bookstores, and no one was selling any book at the price of 32 leva. And I was pregnant, a big lady with big books, and I say, please take these books, I want to sell them. And they say, okay, go home, take care of your pregnancy, that's a book nobody wants to buy. And I find that there is but there are 3 strategies: push, pull, and something in between. And I ask my students to do something for me. I ask them when they go through a bookshop, go in the bookshop and ask if there is a copy of Effective Public Relations in your bookstore. And we do that for 3 months. And at the end, Helicon called me and they said, there are huge interest in your book, please bring us some copies. So that's the way we started, with a little bit cheating, because nobody wanted to do that. Now it's a book that I sell, even the 2nd edition is on the market, and because it's the only one, and I think that nobody will do that again, translate 600 pages from English to Bulgarian in textbooks will still sell the same old-fashioned books. So that's the way we start with the books. And I was thinking that the students and the PR practitioners will be my main target audience. Totally mistake, total mistake. PR practitioners know everything, they don't read professional books. PR students don't have time to read books. So thank God that there are some kind of startups and businessmen that want to know more about how to sell their products and position their products better, and they buy our books. So I have a business plan, and I have a high marks when I presented to the university, and it was total disaster when I start realizing doing it on practice.
So you were pregnant, you started a business and published the book at this, during this pregnancy?
Yeah. But that's normal for me. When somebody asks me what are you doing, and I say, let's wait. What part of everything that I do I want to share with you. So I'm not able to focus on one thing, and that's one of my biggest problems. But in the other side, that makes my life more interesting. So I'm not sure which is better. But for me, focus on one thing never works. So.
And when your husband started to believe in the business?
When we translate our third books with mistake in the title, because the title in English is The Father of Spin, and for PR practitioners, spin means something very, very high level of public relations. So you are able to create events that by themselves will create the environment you want to do. And there was no word in Bulgarian for spin. Wow, what is this? And after 6 months fights with my mind, what will be the world, I decided to be commercial. And I put a Bulgarian title, The Father of Manipulation. And that's one of our best-selling books because of the word manipulation. Bulgarians like so much to be manipulators, so they don't know who is the person the book is about. They don't know who is Edward Bernays, but The Father of Manipulation is a sexy title that can sell a lot of things. And after that we have other best-selling books. Effective Public Relations, the first one, is not one of them. Unfortunately.
And which companies were the first customers for you, and then which big companies were your customers?
The first company was a company of two friends of mine. They were a family, and with the wife we are neighbors since I remember myself, and they make interior design. And I asked her to do something for her company because nobody wants to do anything with me because I don't have a background. And we worked with them after that more than 6 years. But as more of the PR agency in Bulgaria, because the market is too small, everyone has worked with the big multinational brands and have done some kind of project, and we can use their logos on our website. We do something for Coca-Cola, Intel, like that. But one of the things that I like, and I'm proud when I go back, is a CSR project for one of the dealers of General Electric. Because all the car dealers which signed the European something about safety road, they have obligation to do awareness campaign each year about the safety on the road. And most of the companies are doing what? They buy billboards and they say, please drive carefully. They organize some kind of event and do nothing and with no kind of effect. And I said, okay, we propose something completely different. And they say, okay, so we propose them to write a book for kids about the meaning of the road signs, and to do a game where kids can play and win only if they know what these road signs means. And the book was, the title of the book was Sofia and her auto. The dealer was Sofia Auto, so we have the name of the dealer on the title. I bring a very close friend of mine to draw the character and everything. I write the book, and the kids loved so much Sofia, and because Sofia wanted to know the meaning of signs, road signs, to create a sign and put it on the road, which means, "Mom, stop and buy me an ice cream." So at the end there was a white page, and kids are supposed to write their sign to send it to us or upload it on Facebook. We go through more than 100 schools and do games with that. And my biggest present about this campaign was one Christmas party, and two small girls meet for the first time, and the one say, "Hello, my name is," I don't remember, and the second girl said, "Hello, my name is Sofia." And the first girl asked, "Where is your auto?" And I say, yes, that's everything that I wanted. So kids not only read that book, but they remember and they like it. And I think that is the big satisfaction from things that you do, when people like it and take it for part of their lives.
What about your biggest challenges during this time, except volunteer work?
My big challenge back on that times is the same today. So explain our clients that public relations is not just interview in the evening emission of the TV, which is the top on that moment. And public relations is not a manipulation, is not a cheating, is a communication of what you are doing. And before to communicate something, you have to do something. You cannot communicate nothing. And most of our clients want to do nothing and to have a good media coverage and people to love them without any change in their behavior. And I think that this is impossible. If you want to change something, you have first to change yourself, and after that expect other people to change. You cannot expect only other people to change their behavior because you are genius and the only one in that world. So, and I think that the media landscape nowadays doesn't help in achieving my goal, that public relations is good communication, not communicating only the good things.
Can you tell us a bit more about the difference between public relations, marketing? How do we distinguish all these concepts?
If I know the answer to that question, maybe I will be in Fontainebleau, in CERT, Northwest University, or somewhere on that top university. With internet and all this social media, all this participation culture from the consumer part, I think that the line between marketing and public relations are very tricky. It's very difficult for me to say what is just marketing, what is just public relations, because everything you do, you can have benefits from a good communication, even in the HR, even in the financial department, even in advertising. Because today you do an advertising and it's not only to be broadcasted on TV. You put it on YouTube and people like it or dislike it. People make comments, they share it. So the piece is advertising, but everything that happened below, it's communication and it's PR. So what is this? I really don't know. And the problem is that we still separate the marketing from the public relations, from the management, and the truth is that good communication can help everybody in the line, in the management, in the marketing, in the HR, and everything. So that's why we're now talking about branded employee or employee branding. We see all those employees that are part of the advertisement of, for example, Technopolis. If you watch TV, their employees are part of the advertisement, but at the same time it's part of the HR policy, it's part of the marketing, and it's part of the reputation of the company. So it's not so easy to say, here is the line. For me, it's difficult, and one thing is for sure, all this new media created endless opportunities for communication.
Can you share with us what are the main PR techniques that we need to focus on?
I'm sure that the techniques that we use in the past doesn't work well today. Why? I don't know. Because everything changed, and one thing that we know for sure is that the change is constantly here and forever. But let's say it's not technique but a mindset. Today it's very important to accept that your consumers are part of your PR efforts because they are talking about your product, your services, your company. And it's something that, for example, in the end of the 20th century, we are talking about PR from inside to outside. Now we are talking to do PR inside to be able to do something outside. So all your employees are ambassador of your product, and the good PR start from that point of view. Think about what will be your impression about the company. A close friend of your worked there, and on his Facebook profile he didn't mention that he worked there. So maybe it's not a good company, but he needs the job. Maybe he's not proud of what they are doing or something. But you don't think that that's the best place for you to work or the best company to work with. So all these opportunities for people to share and to demonstrate their link or their relationship with brands or institution and organization help other people create impressions about the organization. And if we don't start from inside to outside, we have a problem. Because what happened? I work at the Bulgaria University, for example, they are doing a great job, maybe, but when a parent are in position to decide to send its child to the university or not, and they know people who are studying there or working there, they make a call and they say, what you'll advise me? And if you say, yes, that's the best place for your kid, it's one thing. And if you say, I'm not sure, all the efforts to create a good image go down because the insider give completely different story. So I think that one of the things that change is that we start working very hard inside and after that outside, which was not the case, for example, 15 or 20 years ago. The other trend that is not only in Bulgaria but everywhere in the world, most of the company start producing news. In the past, what was our goal as a PRs? To create something, to sell it to the media, and that's all. Now, because the trust in traditional media goes down and people don't use them so much, the only way for us to go and somehow communicate with people is in our website, in our blog, in our Facebook page, in our group in LinkedIn, and we have to create news. So too many companies became a news or media company. They start creating content, and journalists from traditional media who lost their jobs there start working from inside to create content, to selling it outside. So this is a huge trend. So we are journalists, even without desire of being one of them. And even, I think that 2 years ago, the marketing director of Coca-Cola in one video announcement said that Coca-Cola is now a media agency and they will stop issuing press release in 2 or 3 years. The opportunity to be in direct contact with your consumer is something that made the situation completely different.
Sorry, just a question about this part. If there are media company, why does it mean that they are stopping direct communication with medias, with press release or?
No, I'm not saying that it's stopping, but I say that now it's not the only way. And more companies prefer to have the communication in their place. So in their Facebook group or page, in their LinkedIn group, or as comments on their blog, corporate blog, or somewhere in a forum they create. Because in the past, there was a company with money and media, and the only way for the company with money to go to the general public was through the media. But now there are some blogs or Facebook pages with more audience than the traditional media outlet, some of them. So nowadays it's not the only way to go. And I believe that when there is a direct communication, company, consumer, not media in between, there are bigger chances the communication to be in mutual benefits for both parties, because there is no person in the middle. That's it. For example, if you remember the cases with Gap, they wanted to change their logo, and people created a group on Facebook and say, we don't want your logo more. It's not something that never happened in the past. If we go to the textbooks on marketing, Coca-Cola do the same in the 80s, in the 20th century. But because we didn't have all these channels and people are not able to express publicly their opinion, it takes them a long time to go back to the traditional Coca-Cola logo and come back on the market with the classic Coke, which is one of the biggest mistakes in the field of marketing, and every textbook talk about that mistake. Gap did the same thing, but it took 3 days to realize that it's a mistake and to come back to the real logo. So it's because I don't need the media to say something to Gap. I can write them an email, I can write a comment on their customer service support, etc., etc. So the ability for consumers to communicate directly and express their opinion free on social networks make the rules of the game completely different. I'm not saying that it's only good for companies, but it changed the rules of the games. So in the past, for me to do my job was enough to know 30 journalists. And it was everything that I had to do. Now, you don't know from where it will come. It could come from everywhere in the world. A Bulgarian from Australia has a problem with something, or from everywhere, any time on the day, every single day in the year. So it's freedom of expressions mean more expression. And I'm not telling that always the people that express have the right point of view, but they has the freedom to express it, and whatever I like it or not, it's there. And with the traditional kind of media, it was easy to, let's say, to react. Because if something bad happened, you have the night news, you have the morning paper, and you have some time to react, to prepare. Now you are always after that something happened. Because it's something from somewhere, and you have to do something after that. But maybe if you have questions, you can do it like our French friends, not talking only me.
I would like to ask, what would you recommend for the young people that would start a business? What was your experience with the business, and would you start a business again?
Yes, I have plenty of ideas, but one of the true facts that I'm set with is that there is only one chance to make a first impression. Whatever Mark Zuckerberg will invent in the future, that's once in your life to make a first impression. And it is very important, especially for a startup. So think very carefully about the first impression that you'll make, because after that we'll have to correct if you haven't done something very successful, or something that people understood in a wrong way. Sometimes you think about something, and because you are so deep in your field, you understand it some way, and people understand it completely different, and that brings a big problem. So it's very important to start in a very impressive way, and communication is part of every person's life, and there is no business without communication. So if you are good in communication, you'll be good in business too.
And how about image makers and image making? Are there such companies who are dealing and focused, well, expressly on image making? And what are your relations with such?
So let's say from the theoretical point of view, the image makers are doing the same thing like PRs, but not for companies, for people. So that's the small difference. I prefer working with products because they cannot speak, and they cannot break every effort you made in a second.
But you have managers and people who are, well,
so managers, let's say, in our field, when we are talking about image making, in most of the case we think about political personas and show business and sports. I don't know any business manager who has a personal image maker. I'm not saying that it's not possible to have, but I don't know.
So So they have coaches now, maybe because this is something, a trend to have coaches.
The coaching is a little bit different from public relations because the coach will give you not only advice about how to communicate and present your idea, but about who you are, what's your deepest problem in childhood or how to deal with them and stuff like that. But in the last 2 years, I work with high-level management team of a bank, and they invite me to train them when they have an important presentation about how to structure the presentation, how to behave in the body language, the non-verbal communication, and that's a good sign for me because that means that they know that it's not only what they are saying, but how they are saying, that it's too important to have the influence they wanted. So maybe someday it will be, but I don't want to go to things that I don't like, but I think that the Bulgarian business needs a very strong PR campaign to change the image about what it is to have a business in Bulgaria. Because if somebody doesn't have any work or do nothing, he said or she said, I'm a businesswoman, I'm a businessman. So in the public domain, businessman is not a person who is busy, but just the opposite. It's a person who do nothing and have a lot of money. So in my point of view, the Bulgarian business need a campaign to change the attitude, what is to be a businessman and what is not.
Or to change the image, in fact.
Well, actually, you cannot separate the image from the PR. And maybe nowadays, in this changed environment, the good image goes to the entrepreneurs and the startup guys, and the businessmen maybe.
The problem is that I know very good business people in Bulgaria, and I'm totally not agree that being a businessman means you do nothing and you just have some luxury life. But, and this is one of my questions and one of my ideas, but because nobody have done that, maybe it's a sign that there is no business model in that environment in the moment. But there is no media for which the business is news. In Bulgaria, if you watch, for example, the TV news show, or how to say, the news, the business is not part of the news. Watch them. They are on YouTube. The business is not part of the story. The business is even not in the newspapers.
I don't understand. Sorry.
Because
How to
they
say
show
it?
the business.
Okay, there is
There
a...
is news about companies, but...
Where?
If they sell caloric for.
Okay, let's forget about Telerik. If you watch the news this evening, there will be no single news about business in the central news on the TV.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I make a, how to say, experiment. I ask my students to write down the names of 10 most famous Bulgarian businessmen. No name. There is no name.
So yellow pages there.
They don't know. They can name the political figures, they can name the show business, they can name something like that. But entrepreneurs or businessmen, they heard stories about in the public spheres. No. Yes, of course, there is the magazine manager, but it's not mainstream media. Yes, of course, there is Dnevnik and Capital. Yes, but they are not main media. So without the example of people who succeed in doing business and how this is important for their life and for the society, the example of what you are doing cannot reach the main population of that country.
Is this negative for you as a peer company or person?
For me, is negative as a citizen of Bulgaria, because the private business for me is the main power that will move my country in the future.
Yes, that's
And
right.
when there is no private business or there is no entrepreneur spirit in the young people, for me, this is a trouble for the country.
Do you see a way to enter the business in the news for free?
I have fight with them for long times. There was a decision of the main media, I don't know how it's said in English. It's something that exists only in Bulgaria, I'm sure.
No,
The Council for
no, there are councils every country in the European Union.
But not with the same function.
Well,
But,
maybe.
so according to, I don't know, but I don't want to go in the media problem of the story. But there is a law about news in the media, and it said that in the news and in the some features you cannot make
You can't mention firms.
no, it's not that the formulation. You cannot make advertisements of company. And because the media decide that when you say the name of a company, that equal to advertising, they didn't say anything about the companies because they asked the company to pay. I'm not agree with that way of doing things. It's not the law that is written like that, because for them it's not problem to say from the screen, visit our web page on Facebook. So for me, Facebook is a company.
It's media instrument.
No, it's a company selling shares on the stock stock exchange. So if they have a profit, they are not NGOs, they are their company. For the media, it's not a problem to say Depeche Mode will make a concert in Bulgaria. Depeche Mode is a company and they are selling tickets. For me, it's the same. But for them, it's a problem to say that Alpha Finance opened 100 new jobs for people, for example, somewhere. And it's not the law, it's how the media apply the law. And if you watch, for example, Bloomberg, with all these stories about successful entrepreneurs or companies and their story, just 3 hours of watching about those stories and you say, I can do that, I can be one of them. Why? Because everyone wants to do things in their way. But when you don't see the examples that there are people like you, you don't have always the courage to try.
Yes, but media has a negative image at present, for me personally, and I know that it is so. So maybe it's better at this moment not to have them as intermediaries for you to reach the customers or the public. Maybe it's not negative.
It's let's say, half true, half not true. We don't trust them, but we use them. So, I don't trust the TV news, but if I said something and it appeared on the TV news, much more people will listen than if I said that on my Facebook page. So people don't trust them, but at the same time they use them. It's like, I don't like, is there anybody from telecommunication company? Okay, so thank you. So whatever is your mobile operator, we don't like the operator, but we use that operator. So it's like, if you want, for example, to become popular or people to know your name in the whole country, you need the traditional media, especially TV.
You pay for advertisements.
It's not the same.
And what is the way? How do you do that?
So in the domain of public relations, we try to do things without paying for advertisement. So in any case, it's a different story, but in most of the case, we try to do something that will attract attention and people will start talking about. But for people to start talking about, at that moment, except Sofia, the only way to do that is using TV. I'm saying that Sofia is not equal to Bulgaria. Because here there are too many people, young, working, not watching TV. But in the country, it's not the same situation. And if, for example, if you are an artist and you want to play in the theater, the shortcut is to become popular from one of the TV shows, and after that, all the theaters want you in their piece of theater because people know your name. I'm not saying that that's the way I want things to be, but that's the way things are nowadays. So if you go, for example, to see the program of the theaters, not only in Sofia, you'll see that the Assemblotechki, Zahari Bakharov, and all this. I'm not saying that they are not good actors, but I'm saying that there are other good actors which are not invited to play anywhere else because they are not popular from the TV. So the TV gives you a scene to become known. And advertising is not the way, because with advertising you don't enter to the soul of people. You just inform them about something. But to create situation of love, you need something more than advertising.
Okay, how do you do that? How do you use, let's say, the TV? Because maybe interviews are the direct way to...
That's why I said that companies are not news in the TV, because interview is the easiest way. But when you are not allowed to say where you work, when you are not allowed to say the name of your product, when you are not allowed to say anything, the interview sounds like, hello, I'm working in a company in a field of telecommunication. We have many good products and that's all. So I'm on the TV and I'm saying nothing. They are even afraid to write who I am. So one of my last appearances on the TV, and it was my name, Dessi Boshnakova, mother of a son and a daughter. And I said, Jesus, who the hell are you? I don't want to share that information with the audience. And I said, why you didn't write something else? And they say, because if we write professor at New Bulgarian University, it's advertising to New Bulgarian University. If we said that you are PR expert, it's not the whole truth. And I say, but you don't know, maybe I'm pregnant again. And I'm not only the mother of a son and a daughter, maybe I'm something else. So if you watch, for example, when Levon Harpartsumian is talking, he's never as chairman of the board of Unicredit Blue Bank. He's always banker.
Okay, will the law change? Have you done
The law,
something with
the law, it's okay.
So, the attitude, so the media, the training, the universities, you're a lecturer.
For me, public relations can help the situation, but it's not the writing the laws of the situation. So for me, one of the biggest problems is that there are not medias for which doing news is the only business. And when it's not your only business, you are not on the free market of selling news. And that's make you something else but not a media company. Think about what Nova Broadcasting Group did with Caricaturit, if you remember. So there was a drawing about Boyko Borisov, which was not so pleasant, I don't know to whom. And they broadcasted. 1 hour after that they moved it out from their channel on VBox7, they cut it from the video that share on the program on TV, and people are start talking, where is this, what happened? And all this situation shows something for me very important. Media are not afraid of the government because of the government. They're afraid by themselves. Censorship, but they
mutually
it's not the censorship. It's a censorship that you put on you.
Self-censorship.
I don't know what's the word in English.
Yes.
And that's a problem, because when there is no free media, we have a problem. Not because as a PR I don't have opportunity to make interviews for my clients. It's because we don't have the fourth point of view. So by default they said that media are the fourth pillar of democracy. And when you don't have the fourth pillar, the democracy is not so good.
So, what is the solution?
So what we are doing nowadays, we try to create online news that are so attracting and so interesting that we can reach as many people as we can. Because traditional media don't want to do anything about the Bulgarian business.
How about your colleagues at the universities, where they have journalism as a subject?
So, because the situation of the media in the last 2 or 3 years, and because there is no statistics, and that's the other point of view. If you want to study a problem in United States, it's easy for you to find any kind of statistic online, for everything. If you try to do something for the Bulgarian market, no information. But because I'm there and I knew very well, so the last 3 years, the interest of young people studying journalism go down in all universities. Why? Because they don't see themselves in that position.
Wise young people.
Young people are very clever. They want to do money, or they want to do something that they love. And they see that in the media there is no opportunity for both. I cannot do what I love because of some, I don't know what, and I cannot make money. And they decided that the PR is a better choice. soon or later they will find that it's not.
Ще бъда малко разговор от малко по-практична насока.
И аз надам искам да отчитам, защото те медии ме дразнат.
Имам два въпроса. Принципно за напълно стартираща компания, какви са трите етапа, които бихте споделили за градене на бранд като етапи? И други ми въпрос, примерно за компания, която вече си има имидж, който си е изградила, какви са според вас стъпките, които тя да промени своя имидж? Или пак е свързано с смяна на лого, на имидж?
Okay, so for our French,
You can reply in Bulgarian if it's more comfortable. It's okay.
do you need to translate the question or you just will be satisfied with the answer?
I will be satisfied with the answer.
Okay, and after that we'll guess what the question was.
Freya.
So for me, when it's the beginning and you have done nothing, the most important thing is to have the answer of one very important question, and the question is why I'm doing that. It's a stupid question at first, but if you ask too many businessmen why they are doing that, you'll see that there is everything that I need from communication part of the story, it's there. The answer of why will give you the story that you'll create about your company. And before starting anything, you have to know what is your story. I was impressed from, let me share a story that is not mine. But there is, of course, it's not here, but maybe somewhere here there is a people like that. And the man has a startup about helping people find their first job. Because finding your first job is like finding your first client. Everyone wants to work with you, but after you gain some kind of experience. And when a journalist asked this man why you decided to have a company to give the first job to young people, and he tell a story. And the story in short is like that. When I was a boy with my brother, we are part of the football team, and there is a competition, and all the team was in a bus traveling for big game. We win, and the bus stop, and all the team and the parents go to a restaurant. I stay on the bus with my brother. 10 minutes after that, one of the fathers of a boy from the team came and said, please come with us and take a dinner, I will pay your bill. And his big brother asked the father how to say thank you, what to do in exchange. And he said, please, when you grow up and you have opportunity, help a kid in your position. That will be enough for me. And when you have that story, all the efforts that the PR team and branding will have to do have a soul, because you can create too many things about the story. And if you go back, you can, even me, I can recall the story of the creator of Amazon.com. I have the story of the founder of Zappos. I have the story, of course, of Steve Jobs, of Bill Gates, and all these people. But you sell not a company, you sell a story. So before starting, your company has to have a story. Why you want to sell food for dogs online? You have a dog that helped you in difficult times when you are young, or your dream was to be a veterinarian and you didn't succeed in that, but you still love the dogs. Why? What is your story? After that, for me, it's very important to go through the concept that was created by Alvis and Jack Trout, the positioning statement. And it's again for easy questions, but that makes you think very, very deep why you are doing that. And if you Google it, brand positioning, and because maybe I'm lazy, I first check the images. There are very good images about what is brand positioning and how to do it. So you have to say what is your product, and not in terms software, because the software solve a problem that certain kind of people has. So what is your product? What kind of problem your product solve? Who are the people with that product? Why your product is the best choice? And who will guarantee that the answer of the first three questions are true? That's in short, the positioning. For me, every startup has to have this positioning statement in mind. Whatever you call it, positioning statement or something like that, but you have to know. Because products are there to solve problems. And if you know exactly which problem your product solves, it will be easy to sell it. That's for the beginning. After that, I advise to have a communication expert in your team in the beginning. And be clever and make your decision like every Jewish person will do it. Invite students and have some voluntary work. If you know what is your problem, if you have your story, maybe there are communication experts that will be willing to be part of your team. Go and find it. I believe that there is such kind. Because maybe there is a problem. For example, I was invited to give media training to a parents' organization of kids with a very rare disease. And I was like, I will say that, give the interview like that. And in one moment, those parents start telling the stories of what they go through. And I say, I cannot help everybody, but I will work with 3 of them just because it's amazing what have you done like human beings to save your kids. So maybe there is a person who will love so much the thing that you love that can be involved with advice or something in the beginning. Most of the university, as a professor, I can say, we have case studies. And we really try to imagine with what to give those students to do. Try to find and say, I have a case, I don't have opportunity, but if we choose a student project, we'll give them opportunity to realize it. So try to be creative, but don't put communication in the second plan. I'm not saying pay the PR agency, but take care that good communication is very important for everything. And on the second question, how they can change their image, it depends why they want to change it and what's the reason. So it's not aspiring for that situation.
Аз мога да кажа.
Okay.
Става въпрос за разрастване. Примерно в момента, ще дам конкретни пример. Център Мандала или йога Мандала, което е известно повече, е известно като йога Мандала. Известен с йогата си. Но вече центъра не е само йога. И примерно ние в мен срещаме трудност как центърът бъде разпознава не само с йогата, която предлага, а вече да бъде с новото си наименование, което също функционира така от години и половина, като център за цялостна трансформация Мандала. Въпросът е, че той има много сериозен имидж като йога студио. А ние вече искаме да не сме познати само като йога студио, а вече да имаме по-широк обхват дейности, да бъдем разпознаваеми. Тоест той е разширяван. Не е, защото има някакъв лош...
Okay. If I can answer your question now, you can throw stones on me and say that I'm the most stupid person in the world. Because to give you the right way of changing the image, I have to study what it is, who are those people, where you are going, etc., etc., etc. So it's like if you go to a doctor and they say, you look like you have a problem with your left leg, but without any screaming. But why you don't try to skip the things before mandala and focus only on mandala?
Смисъл? What do you mean?
You said that it's is a center of transformation and
Център за цялостна трансформация мандала.
okay, it's a center for how you translate in English for full transformation mandala.
Too long.
I will skip that for the page about us on the website, and in communication I will use only mandala. And to be honest, for me it's very important to know the people who know mandala as a yoga studio. Is your main target for the other services, or the people who use mandala just for yoga will stay for yoga and you'll attract completely new customers for the other services?
Много хора искат да обучават.
So just use mandala. They don't know. You said we are very famous, and even I know the yoga mandala.
I know.
But if I'm not using yoga, I don't have problem to use mandala as a place where I can go through a complete transformation. Because you go through, so in our job, for me the most important thing is the research. And because it's something that the customer or the client doesn't see, and in most of the cases they don't want to pay for that part of the story. So I don't see, I don't pay. I cannot touch, I don't want to pay. But maybe you said that it's very famous because it's a yoga place for yoga, because you know it very well from the beginning.
Като цяло центърът в Тесли си е познат. Той е най-старият.
Okay, but you said it is known, but by whom? So if it's known by those who use mandala for yoga, it's okay, because it's not known for the new customers that will use the mandala for the complete transformation, whatever it means.
Тоест трябва да сме наясно точно кои са малки хора, които искаме да привлечем и да насочим комуникацията към тях. Тоест стеснява стари.
And it's a trick, because when you start using only mandala and attract new customers, maybe, I'm not sure because I didn't do any research with the old customers, but maybe you have to have a special program for the long-lasting customers, because maybe they will feel some jealous and they will be afraid. Maybe they grow and the quality of the yoga will drop. So you have to think about how to communicate the big thing that happened to those who are in love with the small one. That happened to me too many times. I love the small things, and when they start to become big, it's like they are not still the thing that I love. And I need somebody to say, don't worry, the thing that you love will stay here, but we'll have some other things. So you first have to see how the things that you want to change will affect your customers now. And to start communicating with them, because sometimes, I don't know, because I don't do anything in the field of yoga, but in many other cases, the long-lasting clients are those who bring the new ones. So it is so important how you communicate the change with those who are your clients now. Because they will be your ambassadors out. So I will use only mandala without this. So I'm saying that, and I have a company which is Roy Communication, blah, 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 and all the people remember just Roy. So whatever I put after Roy, it doesn't matter, because it's the thing that they remember is Roy. Other questions? Not about the Bulgarian meeting.
We forgot about it. How about Proverbs?
Programs?
Proverbs. Progovorki.
Ah, my first book.
It's your own book because you have
Yeah, it's by...
translated books now.
Yeah, I translated too many books and I write few. One that I believe in is the Proverbs. Why? Because all the people says that public relations is something artificial and something like that. And I go deep in the Bulgarian Proverbs and I found that all the theory of public relations is there. Why? Because communication is part of the society. And good communication always brings success. And there is a very old Bulgarian proverb which says that you have to spend too many words if you want to sell something, which is public relations for me. I don't know if you're in Bulgarian, it's трябва да похарчиш много думи, за да продадеш нещо. Which is what we are trying to do. We try to communicate, and through good communication we try to sell our ideas, ourselves, our products, our service, etc. And nowadays good communication means to have something good to read on your website, means to have something good on your Facebook page, means to have good videos, means to have good visual story on Instagram, means to have interesting story to sell. Why? Because people like stories. And there are researchers in the American universities because they are stupid and they don't trust experts, they trust research. And I like that approach. And they study what is similar between the most successful advertising on the Super Bowl. And they find out that the successful advertising are those who has a good story. So, since the beginning of Earth, good story sells. And that's why I said you have to know what's the story of your startup. Sometimes it's the story of the creator. Some story is about the idea that you have. But I always cry when I find a few stories about those two young people who go back to Vraca. And in Bulgarian we say Deto Gargane Kaca. They quit their jobs in the good paid IT companies to create a school for ITs in Vraca. And when I find something online about those two boys, I'm crying always because it's a story. And when you listen to them, how they love their own cities, how they want to live there, and the only way to live there is to create something that will keep young people there. It's a company I want to work with, whatever their product and the price. Because I love the idea. And when young people love so much what they're doing, I can trust them. For example, I published a book of Bulgarian author, and he's a veterinarian, and he writes criminal books. And I said, I want a book about animals, because that will make a story. You are a doctor taking care about animals, and you write a doctor. Who are you to write about love? What makes you expert in the field of love? I don't know. But if you are a doctor and you take care about animals, people can trust you more. So that's the same. I have 3 books. 2 of them are selling well. The third is not. Why? Because the 2 that selling well are about public relations and communication, and people think that I'm expert. I'm not saying that I am, but people think like that. And the third is a book with stories. And they say, she's crazy. Why she's writing stories? She's not a writer. She's a PR expert. And for me, it's very difficult to make the switch. So, when you start a company, it's very important how you will create the expectation of people. Because if they accept that you are expert in something, it will be very difficult to move from that block to the another. And if you create open expectation, maybe it will be not so focused in the beginning, but it will give you opportunity to move in the future. I don't know which is better. I said that there are 2 ways. There are problems in the first and there are problems in the second. But it's a choice that you have to make. So the one of the ways we try to do things is to, so I always say, I'm working in the field of communication. So the book is tool of communication. The university I teach communication is communication. The trainings I'm doing are in the field of communications, and my services are in the field of communication. But is it the best way of doing things or not? I really don't know. But it's difficult to have one brand for too many things. Maybe I can't remember a brand that is used for too many things with success. Yeah, but they have a different way of selling. If you ask people to name 5 Procter & Gamble products in Bulgaria, for the people it will be very different. They are a corporate, they have the brand of Procter & Gamble as a corporation, but most of the products you don't know that they are part of Procter & Gamble portfolio. So that's why I said I'm not sure that this is the...
The same.
It's not exactly the same, but it's something like product of Coca-Cola company. But it's different. Fanta from Coke is different. Sprite from Coke is different. Bankia from Coke is different.
I'm going to change the subject a bit.
Not going back to the media.
No. Tell us about your last book and the concept of crowdsourcing, and how can we use crowdsourcing for our business?
How? It's there, it's free, and there are people wanting to do something for you, but nobody asks. So maybe it's part of the education as a, let's say, traditional culture. If you don't ask, nobody will give you anything. That's what my grandmother told me, but she wasn't Bulgarian. In most of the cases, she said, don't ask. It's not polite. And there was 2 or 3 years ago, I write a post on my Facebook wall, and it was something like that. If I had enough money, I will take a personal assistant and I will be able to do all the things that I have to do today. I put dot, publish, and I go out. Because it was like nothing. 3 hours after that, a very good and close friend of mine called me and he said, what you put on your Facebook page? I have 3 telephone calls from people who want to help you. And I said, I even don't remember what I write. And I say, let me check and I'll call you back. I open my Facebook profile and I find 30 comments below that statement, and most of them were, I have 1 hour a day and I'm willing to help. I can help you on the weekends. Just say what work you want to be done, I will do it. And I said, where I'm living? What happened? It's strange. And many of those people really did a great job for me, or together we do great stuff. And I start wondering what make famous people, rich people, people with good jobs, wanting to do something for me for nothing. It doesn't sound logical. It sounds strange. And when I start asking them, they said, we like the things that you do, we believe that something worth doing, and we want to help, etc., etc. So I start working or reading about this new thing that appear outside. And I get up to crowdsourcing. And because I'm part of the crowd that is crowdsourced by TED, but I've never think about myself as a crowd. I think of myself as a privileged individual who has the unique challenge and chance to be part of that big thing. And I start collecting all the research that appear about crowdsourcing. And I think that it's part of the future, and that's why I try to use everything that is done about crowdsourcing and put how it can be used in the field of media, advertising, marketing, PR, and education, which is my second, or I don't know, one of my biggest passions. And that's the result of the book. And I think that asking people, it's a courage, but if you ask, you can receive help, and you can find the people that are happy to help you. And it's not a shame to ask for help, for me. And if you don't want to ask for help, you can just make an open call. We need something, but there are companies which are created on the principle of crowdsourcing. If you go, for example, to Threadless, the company that sells t-shirts, all the design of the t-shirt is made by the crowd, and there is a contest, the crowd choose which design, and after that they give some kind of money to the winning design, and they made this. There are kind of media, which is the idea that I work on, created on the principle of crowdsourcing, and people create news, and there is only a curator that make the news or the stories. There is a very popular show on the American public radio, and the idea of the journalist who is the host of the show is to create an audio history of America. He created an app, everyone can download it, how to make an interview and record it audio on the phone. After that it will be uploaded if you want and will be part of the national history. But he received 2 million interviews. And imagine from these 2 million how many you can choose for your next show on the radio, and it's for free, just because it's cool and people wanted to do that. And how many stories, and you can work 10 years after that just by asking. The American History Society asked people to scan and upload on Flickr pictures from old New York, and they created the history, the digital history. Because if you have to invest money and collect all these pictures, and after that scanning them and uploading, it's too much money, too much hours working. But if I scan only the picture that I have and upload on Flickr with the tag, you can make all the... So I believe that this is part of the future, and I think that this answers one of your questions. Because if you start in using crowdsourcing, you have loyal supporters since before the companies out there. And your loyal supporters are those that will talk to other people in the beginning. And they accept the company as their person. When I start talking about TED, I'm talking about something that belongs to me. And it's not true. It doesn't belong to me. But I feel like that. And when I talk about something that I think is mine, I'm talking in a completely different way about that thing. I said there is a very good cream in some shop. I think that I talk with you about the cream. Кога си говорихме за сметаната?
Да.
And do you remember? I don't remember the name of the company. Why? Because I'm still not in love with that company. If I fall in love, believe me, I will remember the name. Or I will do my best to find what is the name. At that moment, I'm still buying some products, but I'm not in love.
You're testing it because you said the milk is not...
Yeah, the milk is very good, but I'm still going there just for the milk. And what happened? I'm on the queue waiting to buy my milk, and a very good looking lady said, give me 20 pieces of the cream, because it's the best cream I ever tasted in the last 5 years in Bulgaria. And my reaction, I said, 2 bottles of milk and 2 creams. Today I do the same. I buy my milk and I said, the cream is incredible. It's like in my childhood. And the lady behind me said, give me one, I want to taste it. So that's how it's word of mouth. But we have to start it from somewhere. And it's not enough nowadays to have money. Because with money you can buy time, but you cannot buy support from the crowd. With money you can buy service that we call love, but you cannot buy the feeling of love. And as my guru said in one of his TED Talks, the Seth Godin, to start a movement you need 1,000. 1,000 people is enough to start a movement. And I think that it sounds like a very small number, but it's very difficult to find the 1,000 people that believe in the thing you are doing. So put efforts to find your 1,000 ambassadors. That's the way we go through the awful media that we have.
So the networking.
So how you buy a book? In most of the cases, a friend of yours told you about a great book he's or she's reading, or because today we talk with me and after that you go to the website to check right communication, you choose some kind of book and you order. But it's not because you see something somewhere. In most of the cases it's not an impulse to buy a book, it's especially when it is professional book. It's because you need the information, it's because somebody told you something or something. And even I had a friend of mine who asked me, it will be good if on the back cover of your book you write the time needed to read it. Crazy. And he said, I'm not crazy, I don't have too much time. So I've heard about people who said, I don't buy books because I don't have a place in house. I have 2 teenagers who don't read big books because it's too big. I know that there are people who are buying the book with the red cover and don't want to have books with black covers because they don't fit on their apartment. But I've never ever imagined that somebody will measure the book by the time they need to read it. So I check and I find out that too many publishing companies abroad, they put average time of reading that book 10 hours. Because nowadays people have one thing they cannot buy, and it's time. And it helps some people take the decision to buy or not to buy. There is a very popular startup who sells, and the startup is selling summaries of business books. 16 page, about every business book that appear in the world. And people are buying like crazy. And they think that when they read the 16 pages, they have read all the book. So we are in the fast-moving economy, so time is a very important asset. So he's crazy for me, but not for the entire population of the world. He's not alone in his craziness.
Do you have any questions?
What is the craziest proverb you have read or heard? Proverb.
Craziest.
The most unexpected in its story behind.
In the field of communication,
So, question.
there are too many crazes, especially
Your favorite
in Bulgaria.
might not be Bulgarian then.
I have, let's make funny with myself, or the things that one of them I'm working. Because you said a new company and from where to start. I have a colleague and he's professor and he's studying the semantics of logos. So any image looks like something, but people feel different things from what we are seeing. And he studied the logos of some old Bulgarian companies from the first wave of private companies, and he said those will bankrupt in a few years, and the logo says, and I say ha 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 ha, and it happens. And when we start working for the new Bulgarian university, and he said, this name is very tricky, because in 5 years it wouldn't be new. And when you have a name and it doesn't mean what you are, it's a problem. And 1 year after that appeared Nova Broadcasting, Nova Television. And it's the same. So when you start doing your companies and you are thinking for your name, think very carefully. Because if you have new in the name of your company, you have to prove every single day that you are new. Otherwise, your name is meaningless. I'm not not sure that Nova Televizia prove every day that it's new. Unfortunately, I'm not so sure that New Bulgarian University is still new.
People just get used to the name, so new is not anymore the new in the
They
sense.
get used on a conscious level. But my problem is with the subconscious. The problem with the PR people is that we are dealing with the reality in the people's head, not the real reality. So the real reality is one fact, but how people accept that reality is a completely different story. Think about, did you make the test on, it is somewhere on the BBC website, where are by the incomes that you have among the people in the world? I have always made complaint how poor I am, how bad is my life, how awful is Bulgaria, how dirty is Sofia, and everything.
It's not true.
And I put my incomes, which are miserable according to what I'm imagining, in that website. And guess what? I was in the 10% richest people in the world. Why? Because when I'm comparing my incomes, I'm comparing with Long Island, Manhattan, French coast, the La Riviera. But I'm not thinking about the people in Africa. I'm not thinking about people in Asia. I'm not thinking about the people in South America. I'm even not thinking about the people in Bronx. Because I imagine if I live in New York, I will be, my apartment will be with a big view to the Central Park and the beginning of Broadway Boulevard. I'm not thinking that I will be somewhere in the ghetto. So, maybe I'm not rich as I want to be, but I've never think about myself as part of the 10% richest person in the world. So, the reality is one thing, what people are thinking is a completely different story. So, the huge problem in my work is that people from other disciplines to make clear that what they are seeing is not that other people are seeing. And in that connection, it's, for example, let's say we work for a vaccine about flu, and a French person from the company came and said, 90% people in Bulgaria have to have the vaccine about flu. And I say, keep calm, go to France, we are in Bulgaria. It's impossible. Why? Because it could be possible in long term, but first we have to work with too many groups. And he said, in Germany? And I say, okay, but in Germany there is a law. If you don't put the vaccine, you lose some part of your medical insurance. So if I want to keep my insurance, I have to have the vaccine against flu. And here, why to put that vaccine? I have rakia, I have honey made, I have slanina, I have too many things. I can find the flu in completely different way. So it's, but one of the funny story, it was in the beginning. Let's finish with a funny story, and it was my favorite brand for laundry, Tide. Because I spent some time of my life in the United States, and it's easy when you are there to become American. You became American very quickly. and the way you treat your clothes is tight. And that's all. So when I start doing my job here, I have a call from the company that imports Tide here, and they said, there is a very good contest, Tide is made in America, so let's do it in Bulgaria. What's the competition? The dirtiest kids of America. And I say, hello, it will not work in Bulgaria. Why? We do that 10 years and it's so popular. I say, no. And they say, you don't know everything, we'll find another PR agency, they will do it for us. And they did. The number of mothers entering the competition, 3. 2 Americans and me. Why? Because the way the Americans treat their kids means that when the kid is dirty, it's smart. Why? Because when it moves, it touch everything. They want to know everything, they get dirty. For a Bulgarian point of view, if your kid have a dirty clothes, you are a bad mother. So who want to win a contest for the bad mother in the world? Nobody. Maybe I am, but I don't want to win that contest, at least. So, it's not what it appears, but how people are thinking about it. And it was the same with the Czech company in the beginning. They wanted to enter the Bulgarian market, and they wanted to create a company with the name Pyramid. And I say, that's not your name. And they say, why? It's a solid. It's a big, nobody can move it. And I say, sorry, but the Bulgarian pyramids are not what you are thinking about. And we have a 1 day fighting about the name of the company. And in the end, he said, in Czech, we call that flyby. Because they came, they took the money, and they go away. So it's flyby. And I said the same thing in Bulgaria, it's pyramid. So if you want to make a financial institution, please find another name. And it's cultural, it's specific. So I think that with good intention and firm belief in what you are doing, you can find the 1,000 people that will support you. It's not easy, it takes time. But I think that everything takes time. The problem is how long you can wait. Because the quick success doesn't teach anything in the way. So you need time to become stronger.
Thank you very much.